today's episode of the Balancing Hormones Naturally podcast, where we offer actions and steps you can take today to start supporting and balancing your hormones. This is your podcast host, Leah Brueggemann. I am honored and excited to be your guide on your way to better understanding your hormone health and how it affects your everyday life. Hey ladies, welcome back to a new episode of Balancing Hormones Naturally. This episode is brought to you by the Hormone Reset Program, which is actually opening up for enrollment on Wednesday. So let me think. This is coming out the 19th, 20th, 21st. So April 21st. And I know that a lot of you are probably familiar with the Hormone Reset Program. If you've been following me for a while, this is my signature program that has all of the amazing wins where you hear about women with PCOS getting their period back. You've probably seen maybe some of your friends go through the program, and we've had women lose 20 plus pounds eating more food than they ever have before because they're supporting their hormones. So if you just feel so frustrated with your hormones, you're struggling to lose weight, you are having headaches all the time, you feel like you can't show up for your best self, for your family, for your husband, even for your friends and yourself. You just feel like there's so many things holding you back because of brain fog, just not feeling like yourself. You have no energy and you're just frustrated, let alone talk about the fact that possibly you having to call in work every month because your periods are that painful. Then the Hormone Reset Program is for you. We open enrollment on the 21st. If you want to slide in there before it opens to the public, because we only have limited spots, please shoot me a message and be like, hey, you let out the special phrase in the podcast and I want to hop in. So let me know. But I'm very excited. It's an 8-week group program. You have 8 group coaching calls unless you do VIP, and then you also get a one-on-one call with me as well as private voice text messaging support for 3 weeks. And you have a Facebook accountability group, and then you have all of the modules walking you through step by step exactly what to do, because I don't want it to be confusing. I don't want to just throw information at you and be like, here. No. I want to walk you through implementing and actually seeing results. So let's jump from there right into cycle syncing. What is cycle syncing? So, cycle syncing is basically magic. So, it's using food, your lifestyle, your workouts, and rotating them with your cycle. So, basically, you're being more productive and using your menstrual cycle as a guide. Now, if you don't have a cycle right now, or you're postmenopausal, don't be afraid. You can still do this. You're just going to follow the moon, okay? So I'll give you all of the moon signs as well, so you'll know what to do. Just look up on, pull out Google and be like, when's a new moon? When's a waxing moon? And you'll know exactly when to start doing these things, okay? The moon is super powerful. The tide follows the moon, you guys. So many babies are born on the full moon. Parasites become more active on the full moon. You probably didn't want to know that, but that's why they recommend doing parasite cleanses around the full moon, which is so disgusting. But I'm just letting you know the moon is really, really powerful. So we've already talked in previous episodes about syncing your workouts for fat loss with your cycle. So go back and listen to Caitlin, who's a fitness guru from the Hormone Reset. She talks about that. But today I kind of want to talk a little bit about lifestyle, and I want to talk a little bit about food. Most specifically, I want to talk about drinks, little rituals you can do with your cycle, because I think it's just so cool to use your menstrual cycle as this guideline for self-care, and when you're going to need a little bit more self-care, when you can push a little bit. Your cycle is your superpower, and I don't think enough people tap into their superpower, which is their cycle, okay? So let's kind of just talk through the phases a little bit if you need a refresher. So the first phase is your menses, when you're bleeding, your period. If you're syncing with the moon, this is going to be the new moon, start of something new. See, makes sense here, new moon period. And then after you're done bleeding, you head into what is called your follicular phase, which totally makes sense because your follicle is getting ready to, is developing to release that egg. If you're syncing with the moon because you don't have a cycle, this is going to be the waxing moon. And then you head into your ovulatory phase, which is when your cervical mucus starts developing, and when you ovulate. Obviously it's called ovulatory phase. If you're syncing with the moon, this is the full moon. And then a few days after ovulation, you head into what is called your luteal phase. And if you are syncing with the moon, this is the waning moon, okay? And then it repeats. Remember, we are not linear creatures. We are cyclical, okay? So you can't expect to show up every single day the same. And if you expect to show up every single day the same, we're not small men, and it's not going to happen, and you're not going to be the most productive, and you're not going to be showing up the best that you can, okay? So I want to show you how to kind of tap into this superpower, which is your cycle. Because yes, there are specific times when you want to start something new, like whether that is a new workout plan, or maybe you are looking to lose some weight, or maybe you're going to start training for, I don't know, a marathon, or maybe you have some big project with work. And you always get frustrated with yourself because you feel like you're not productive. You can't stick to anything. Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about it. Okay. So let's start with menses, right? So your period, the new moon, this is when your hormones are at their lowest, okay? You know, your progesterone, estrogen dropping is what signaled your period to start. We tend to be much more inward and reflective on this stage naturally. And so I just caution you, like, maybe don't spend as much time on social media, and be very wary of the fact that you're probably going to be comparing yourself to everybody on the planet. You're going to be a little bit harsher to yourself when you're on your period. And so just being aware of that, I feel like we can be, can help us be more counterproductive. You know, we can be put steps in place to help support. If that's okay, a few days before my period, I'm signing off. I'm not going to be on social media, or I'm going to do these extra things for self-care to take care of my mental health. Something that I feel like a lot of times comes up in your period is that you start second guessing yourself of what you're doing with your life, you know? And so I don't recommend making any big life decisions while you're on your period. Not a really great idea. But if something keeps coming up for you every period, maybe when you're in a different phase, you can look back on it a little bit longer. Maybe you can think about it a little bit more and be okay, am I really happy with where my life is going? But don't make any big life decisions on your period. I don't recommend it, okay? And then we head into your follicular phase, which is, if you're syncing with the moon, this is your waxing moon. So this is a very creative stage. This is very higher energy for people. I like to think about it, if you're going to equate it to a season, maybe spring would be super helpful for you. And things are budding, things are growing, right? I love just thriving on your energy here. But if you don't know where to focus your energy, sometimes you can feel a little bit lost in this phase. You know, it's a great time to check things off your to-do list, because that follicular phase energy, that rising estrogen, that's why a lot of times people feel so great after their period, is that rising estrogen. It's your Beyonce hormone. You start to feel super excited. You just feel like you're glowing. That's your estrogen. So I would start first with figuring out where your focus is going to be, you know, with this type of energy. What do you want to focus on? Make a to-do list so you have somewhere to go with this energy, right? It's a great time to socialize. It's a great time to make collaborations and networking. I don't recommend planning events too far in advance though, because in 2 weeks you're not going to be in your follicular phase anymore, and you're going to regret signing on to all of those social contracts, okay? But it's a great time now to go out and socialize. The drink that I love to have during this time is a golden milk tonic. So it's like a turmeric latte. And I love, my ritual for this time is to drink your golden milk and ask yourself where your energy is going for the day. Where is your focus for the month? And someone who talks about these, and I think some of these drinks recommendations come from Elisa Vitti, her book In the Flow. So I highly recommend that. Some of them might change out, but she's an amazing resource for you. Okay. And then as you head into your ovulatory phase, okay, if you're syncing with the moon, this is going to be the full moon. So you're going to sync with the moon if you don't have a regular cycle. Remember, you're postmenopausal, maybe if you have PCOS, any of those are going to make you want to sync with the moon because you're trying to regulate your cycle, okay? So, ovulatory phase, your estrogen is at its highest at this time, and so is your testosterone, okay? So you're going to have higher libido around this time, which totally makes sense because, hello, ovulation, your body's all about reproduction. If you're in your ovulatory phase, this is obviously your fertile phase, so it totally makes sense that your libido is going to be at its highest. This is also, your empathy is at its highest, your communication skills are at its highest. So if you're looking to like ask for a raise at your job or anything like that, ovulation is a great time to do it because with that rise of testosterone, you're going to have like so much more guts, bigger guts, whatever that word is. So great time to have hard conversations. Your empathy is going to be there. Your communication skills are going to be great. So during this time, drink your tea. Milk thistle tea is really, really good. Nettle tea is also really, really good during this time. And drink your tea and practice visualization, visualizing what your healthiest self would do. How would you show up? What would you change? So I'd be like, okay, healthiest Leah, like no matter where that is, like how would she show up today? You know, it's such a good practice to get into because if you're not feeling well and your health is not at the greatest and you're not happy about it, we can get really, really stuck in that victim mode. And so visualization is really, really important. And I think it's a great tool to use to keep yourself moving forward and constantly making the changes and the support that you need to get to your healthiest self. Okay. And then you're going to head into your luteal phase, okay? So this is your fourth phase. If you're syncing with the moon, this is the waning moon, okay? This is after ovulation, okay? So your progesterone is going to be at its highest. Now, if you're dealing with hormonal imbalances, aka a lot of times low progesterone, excess estrogen, this is when a lot of women see a lot of PMS symptoms. They see a lot of bloating, they see mood swings, they see cramping, they feel like they can't control their feelings. That is due to a hormonal imbalance. But if you, which you want to get on supporting, by the way, but if your hormones are balanced, you're still going to go a little bit more inward during this time. I love comparing this to autumn. You know, this is honestly the time when you're going to go and feel much bigger urge to deep clean your closet. I don't know what it is about the luteal phase. It's kind of a little bit like a nesting period, but if you're a business owner, I always recommend like repurposing your content, doing back end work, all of that kind of stuff. And you're not going to want to do as many social engagements, but if you have to, I always recommend spending a little bit more time in self-care, you know, have a special, like, you know, either commit to, you know, having time for a face mask or a bath, or maybe it's taking a walk outside, or maybe that's a workout routine for you. Whatever it is, to make sure that you are winding down correctly. And for my luteal phase, I love the cinnamon ginger honey tea. How I make this is 1 stick of cinnamon broken in half an inch of ginger with the peel on. Just wash it, you guys. And so I'll bring the water to a hot boil, put the contents in the mug, and then I like cover it with a plate for about 5 minutes, and then I go ahead and uncover it, and I add a teaspoon of honey. And I love to make my gratitude list and sip my luteal phase drink. Okay. And then from your luteal phase, you head right back into Menses. And I don't know if I mentioned Menses tea, but for this, I love red raspberry leaf tea, or I love nettle tea. Either one of those are really, really great. Also really love some homemade hot chocolate in my Menses phase with raw cacao to get that magnesium in as well. So I hope that kind of gave you a little bit of insight about your cycle. You know, we dive into this super deeply in the Hormone Reset program and also the free challenge. But it's so important to just kind of understand where you are so you can understand your moods a little bit better. In your follicular phase, after your period ends, this is a great time, focus your energy, figure out what you want to do. It's a great time to start projects and start whatever goals that you're going on, because by the time you hit your luteal phase and you slow down a little bit, you're going to have at least 2 weeks under your belt. 2 weeks is a great amount of time to start building that habit. So if you start something in your follicular phase, by the time that motivation is not there, the discipline will be there because you've had 2 weeks to be consistent with it. So I always recommend starting new things and all of that in your follicular phase. So I hope that was helpful for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And if you found it helpful, please share it with a friend. And if you have any questions about the hormone reset, reach out. I'm very excited to take another round of women through this. We had 30 women in the last round, which I think we actually have to take a few less this time. So it's going to be absolutely incredible. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Balancing Hormones Naturally. If you found this helpful, I would love for you to share it with a friend and post it on your stories and tag Balancing Hormones Naturally podcast so we can get this message out. You can find me on Instagram at Leah_BRUEG, and I would absolutely love to hear from you.